Alrighty. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trinh, the one show, the only show that shows you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time. Today, very much look forward to talking to and have the honor and pleasure of having nutritionist Penny Foskaris. I hope I got that right.
Yours, close enough.
Perfect. To help us better understand the concept of red light therapy, Foskaris Wellness is based out of Anaheim and has helped over 5,000 people stop struggling with weight loss, pain, stress, and sleep. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thanks.
I'm going to start with a few questions, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Alrighty. The first question I had for you is, can you explain what red light therapy is and how it works?
Sure. So red light therapy, there's different nanometers of the lights. And so as we go into the different spectrums of light, we're into the 500s of the greens, which can help with, there's some research showing with cellulite, we're looking at that, but also with brown spots. We're looking at red light therapy. It starts going to the healing and the near infrared, which is about 800 spectrum nanometers. We can actually heal bones faster. And when I talk about what it can do is there's over 8,000 studies on the National Institute of Health's website,
Wow.
what light therapy can do. And so for the cells, let's say our cells have mitochondria, which produce adenosine triphosphate, ATP. That's the battery of the cell. So what happens with the light is it's able to go, and it's a low energy, so we're not doing anything harmful to the body.
Okay.
They're LEDs.
Mhm.
It's able to produce more adenosine triphosphate, more of the ATP, so the body can heal itself. And
Mhm.
that's how it works. So, for example, we do skin tightening. How
Mhm.
does it happen? Because the cells stop producing collagen as we get older and our skin becomes lax. And so when we do light therapy,
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
lets the body produce more collagen again because again, we're increasing the energy of the cell to be able to do what it needs to do.
I
We
see.
can grow hair, we can reduce inflammation. And then with injuries, we can reduce inflammation very quickly
Mhm.
by using the light therapy as well.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. And like you talked about, a lot of people are concerned about side effects when they hear lights or therapy. They're thinking about maybe x-rays or all these rays. But yeah, like you said, that's very important.
Yeah, there is no side effects. I tell everyone because a lot of times people are coming in either for pain relief or fat loss in the clinic. And I actually call it a spa because it really is like a mini spa day in here. So it's really lovely coming in Anaheim Hills location. But what's happening is it's actually because the body's able to produce more ATP, it's
Mhm.
healing itself. It's good for every single cell in the body. And so everybody should be doing light therapy. I call it the fountain of youth because I do see it even with my own skin and I've been using light
Mhm.
therapy for over 5 years. I got introduced
Mhm.
to it and it's just been mind blowing what
Mhm.
we get to see in the center every day.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what are the potential benefits of red light therapy for wellness?
Sure. For wellness, I'll share with you, we had like a client that came in, she was in her 70s, she's walking with a cane.
Mhm.
And we have a full red light bed in the office. And she did 12 minutes and she walked into the room with her cane. Then she
Mhm.
walked to our back room where our
Mhm.
saunas are. And then she walked to my office the same day without a cane and said,
Oh,
"Did I
wow.
just walk here by myself?" And I said, "Yeah, without your cane." And we see it all the time.
Mhm.
There's also with autoimmune diseases in other countries, they've
Mhm.
helped. I know we're talking about wellness, but helping people get well, no matter where they're at, right? We have, but other countries have been using light therapy since 1905 to
Oh,
help with
wow.
autoimmune too.
Wow.
So it's not something
Mhm.
new. The
Mhm.
nice thing is that all these podcasters have started talking about it and tried it.
Yeah.
So it's bringing more light into
Mhm.
light therapy,
Yeah.
really. No pun
Mhm.
intended, but it really is
That
amazing.
makes
So
That's true.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. How did you first become interested in red light therapy and decided to incorporate that in your business?
Yes. So as a nutritionist, I had a small office in Newport and I was just helping people with their weight loss and genetic testing and food sensitivities. And a friend of mine was going to go buy this red light therapy pad system for weight loss and for neuropathy treatments. I said, that's not going to work. I've done light therapy. I had this thing that these arms floated all over my body. I was supposed to lose
Mhm.
weight. Nothing happened. So I went up there to the valley with him, and the doctor there was showing me his pictures before and after for weight loss. And that's what I was more interested in. I told my friend, I said, you know what? He's just not telling you the truth. There's no
Yeah.
way. He went to the gym. There's no way that light therapy can actually melt fat. So, anyways, my friend bought his first machine and I went down to their office and got wrapped with the red light pad system. And I saw a difference on my body after the
Mhm.
20-minute session that I bought my first
Mhm.
red light device. Could have bought a car instead. Let's just say that it's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I had a doctor that would send me his patients with neuropathy. And I was like, oh my gosh. After a couple sessions, we started seeing the neuropathy dissipate and they were
Mhm.
getting the feeling back. The tingling, or I mean, not the tingle, but the
Mhm.
pain, the throbbing pain or the sharp pain was starting to go away. And I thought, wow,
Mhm.
this is amazing. So We've helped so many people with fat loss with that part. That was my
Mm,
main focus. But now we have all kinds of different people coming in with autoimmune disorders, and doctors send me their patients to help them with different ailments
mhm.
too.
Yeah, that's really interesting how you talked about just how fast and instant the results are. We're talking about you felt the instant difference. So
Yeah.
I think that's really
Yeah.
important for people who are in pain. That instant relief
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah, especially, so I also decided a few years ago, I was actually helping
Mhm.
manufacture devices for the body contouring ones and for neuropathy, or bigger pads. And last year I was thinking I need to do something for people who were in pain, because my clients would come in and they'd be like, "Hey, what do you think about this one on Amazon I found,
Yeah.
for my knee?" Or I said, "Try
Mhm.
it, buy it." And it just wouldn't work that fast. And it was like, we're not giving them any relief. And it felt okay. But so I transitioned, I started creating devices for home use that
Mhm.
have just as much power as we have in the office as we
Oh,
do for home use. And so with those, we can wrap a knee or elbow back, and in 15 minutes, it's relieving the pain
oh
that
wow.
fast. So it's amazing. And
Mhm.
my thing about it was pushing and creating these devices for home use. And I wanted them to be affordable for people to be able to have them at home and do
Mhm.
therapies instead of having to come in with crutches or
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
scooter,
Mhm.
and actually to afford it and not break the bank. And we
Mhm.
have a huge opioid crisis,
Mhm.
and people are coming in to get hip replacement surgery or their knee replaced, and they can't get rid of the pain. And with the light therapy devices, instead of continuing with the opioids, they might have to start them in the beginning, or maybe won't have to, because we can start reducing inflammation right away and start
Yeah.
healing faster. And we do see, I've had people who their parents have had knee replacement surgery years ago, and they still have pain,
Mhm.
and they put the light therapy pad on and it gives them relief. My big thing is, what's the bigger picture here? Like, can we try to solve something? And the opioid crisis is real. And then we have the obesity epidemic is real, and it
Mhm.
keeps getting worse and worse, and a bigger problem because also there's a lot of cookie cutter programs on the shelf, and it worked for
Mhm.
that person or that person, but no one's looking at the numbers and behind. So we do body composition analysis, and
Mhm.
we can see what happens with the fat. And
Mhm.
if somebody has more than 20 pounds of fat to lose, they're losing 2 pounds of fat each time they come in. And we
Oh,
can
wow.
see within 3 days, we use a body composition analysis.
Mhm.
So literally in 3 weeks, let's say, if they lost even a pound and a half each time and lose about 2 pounds,
Mhm.
they'll lose in 3 weeks about more than this. This is
Oh,
5 pounds.
wow. Very
Imagine losing three. I mean, and that's a lot to
yeah.
lose in 3 weeks. If they came
Yeah.
even once a week, they
Mhm.
came twice a week, be faster. And the beautiful thing is, like, especially with the red light bed,
Mhm.
we can help tighten the skin because it's helping the
Mhm.
body produce collagen. So I have a
Mhm.
client that lost 120 pounds of weight, 98 pounds of pure fat in 9 months. She was 310
Mhm.
pounds when she came in. She was
Wow.
starving herself fat. That's the whole thing about, we need to make
Mhm.
sure we're eating enough food because that can happen.
Mhm.
And she has no hanging skin. She has
Wow.
less hanging skin now than she did before she started her sessions. And so that's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So,
is, really that's really interesting. Thank you for that.
yeah.
I was wondering, can you share any success stories or testimonials from clients who benefited from red light therapy? As one of the viewers
Yeah.
about that.
So there's one of them that
Yeah.
I was sharing. I have another client who had cancer about 3 years ago, and every day
Mhm.
she was still taking a radiation pill, and she had no energy. Her bones were aching her. It was one of the side effects from the medication.
Mhm.
And she told me she would sit most of the day in her chair. She didn't cook dinner for her family anymore. She didn't really have any good quality of life. And so she kept seeing my ads about red light therapy,
Mhm.
maybe I'll come in. And she came in, and after, I'd say, less than 2 weeks, she started feeling more normal.
Mhm.
She actually, after even 1 month, when she talked to her kids, she's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, we're gonna go when my kids come, we're gonna take the grandkids to the park, we're do this." She started making plans
Mhm.
and even cooking dinner. Even the family came over and they're cooking, and she walked up the stairs to the food, and it was something that she had not done since she was diagnosed with cancer and was taking this medication.
Mhm.
And she's still taking it, but she doesn't have the side effects like she was having, and she has a normal life again.
Yeah.
And she's so
Yeah.
grateful, and she comes
Mhm.
twice a week, and she'll continue because now she has her quality of life
Mhm.
back.
Exactly.
Another one as well, girl, for 25 years, she was so sick and no doctor could figure out what was wrong with her. Her face was very puffy and she was tired, exhausted. And literally within a couple weeks of coming on the red light bed, she
Wow.
started feeling normal.
Mhm.
She lost weight. She feels amazing. And all of her doctors were like, "What are you doing? It's
What
amazing." Like, they
yeah.
couldn't believe it.
Mhm.
So it's pretty
Wow.
amazing to see that. It's wonderful because also with the red light therapy, I'll show you what happens for fat loss. We'll pretend it's
Mhm.
a fat cell. It liquefies the fat in the cell, and it's able to open up its pores just like this, and the
Mm.
fat can come out.
Yeah.
And then it goes through lymphatic system and processed through the liver, just
Mm.
like a fatty meal. So we can actually open up fat cells, keep the fat cells intact. We
Mm.
don't want to move them around or destroy them,
Mhm.
because if we don't change why somebody was gaining weight or figure out why, and you take the fat cells away, the body goes, well, I used to put it there. Now
Mhm.
where I put the fat cells, and they start getting fat other places they've never
I
had
see.
before.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Oh,
we need
okay.
to also see why is someone gaining weight on top of doing the light therapy as well.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what I do in here.
That's amazing, seeing
Thank you.
that, helping people out, I'm sure it's a very rewarding feeling, so
It is. I
thank you
love
for
it.
sharing. I was wondering, are there any misconceptions about red light therapy that you would like to address?
I think people are afraid that there's, again, like you said, maybe
Yeah.
X-ray
Yeah.
technology. Is it safe? And I'm like, it is safe. There's different spectrums. I mean, as
Mhm.
we go on, especially because I have a red light bed that looks like a tanning bed. And I
Mhm.
say, you're not going to get tan.
Yeah.
There's different frequencies, different nanometers of lights. And so this is a very different spectrum. And we're in the 600 to 900
Mhm.
nanometers of things. With our bed, it's about 6 to 800 nanometers. And we
Mhm.
blend the lights are blended together. So I think people are more of afraid because they've never tried it.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between lasers and LEDs. Like
Mhm.
ours are LEDs, they're low level energy. Again, there's difference between fluorescent tubing light that has red.
Mhm.
That we want to stay away from too many EMFs. We want to do LEDs, low level energy lights, so that way it's safe and getting the
Mhm.
benefit from the lights.
I see, got
Okay.
it. Thank you for that. How would you stay up to date with the latest research and developments in red light therapy if someone's interested and they're trying to find out more about it?
Yeah, to find out more about it, I would go to the National Institute of Health's website.
Mm.
There's over 8,000 studies. So if you go to Google Scholar, you can go there and look up there, or just when you're looking up, because you just look up Google, you're going to get maybe something that's maybe
Mhm.
a company put out there or someone else. Then you look to see who's behind the study. But looking at actual studies, and then you have to do your due diligence, say who created the
Yeah.
study, how
Yeah.
many people, right?
Yeah.
That's really when I talk about, even with pain relief, we see with the devices that I created, we see the inflammation reduced in 15 minutes. It's
Mhm.
been consistent. And so seeing the results, because not everything out there, that's one of the things that when I look at light therapy, the devices out there, how many lights
Yeah.
per square inch, right? There's
Mhm.
some great brands out there. I know there was one lady's like, well, I don't know about your lights. I got red
Mhm.
light therapy. I bought it from this big company. It's okay.
Mhm.
I said, what's the company? She told me the name. The
Mhm.
size was like 18 inches by 4 inches, and it had about 140 lights on it. My pads that I created that are 11 by 7 inches, so a lot smaller, has 540 lights.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
My
Mhm.
11 by 27-inch face dome, or the pad for the body, has almost 2,000 lights. So we have to look at how many lights are on there.
Mhm.
Also, there's some that put all these different colors on them. So now, do you really need the pink, the green, and the blue for what your ailment is, right? I decided to focus mostly on red light and near infrared light. We are doing testing with some green. That's more going to be for cellulite, but we're still doing R&D on those, so
I
that I don't have the data on that yet.
Mhm. I see.
Okay.
You talked about the products, in-home products. So I was wondering, is there different types that you offer? Is there a certain specific product that people in home use, and then services at your location that kind of people can
Yeah.
find out more about?
Yeah, so in Foskaris Wellness here in Anaheim
Mhm.
Hills, we have a full red light bed. So that would be, they range between 60 to 75,000. That's going to be a little out of reach for
Yeah.
most people,
Yeah.
but I have it here because it's a service that we
Mhm.
provide. And so we have that. We have a pad system as well. We also have for people to try out the small units, which they run about $400. And now
Mhm.
you can actually help recover your knee in 15 minutes, right? Start
Mhm.
doing it every day. And they can do, if it's an injury, of course, it's not going to
Mhm.
immediately go away, but we reduce inflammation, start reducing the pain. So we have the home use devices, which is on our redlightprodevices.com website. Those have ranging from the larger pads for the body. We have hand gloves. So if
Oh,
someone hurt
okay.
their hand or wrist, have carpal tunnel, for example, there was a gentleman who fell from a second story ladder and was in
Wow.
the hospital for 2 months, 3 months, and
Mhm.
then he was recovering home. He got one of our red light hand
Mhm.
gloves, and he could only bend his hands just a little bit first. And after 15 minutes, he was moving
Oh,
his hands like
wow.
this,
That's
because we didn't
Mhm.
really repair everything yet, but it reduced inflammation. So
Mhm.
now we can start doing our exercises
Uh,
to heal
yeah.
it and to strengthen it.
Mhm.
So gloves we have for elbows, knees, calves, shoulders. We have a face dome for skin tightening as
Mhm.
well. We have a hat for hair growth and for brain health too,
Oh,
as
wow.
well.
That's
Yeah.
great. No, appreciate
Yeah.
it. What advice would you have for someone who's considering trying light therapy for the first time? So if it's their first time, is there anything you would tell them to kind of maybe comfort or encourage first time
I
users?
would say definitely try it to see it, because I think that a lot of times there's a lot of snake oil out there, right?
Yeah.
And that's why for me, I have people try them before they even buy them. I send it home with them if they're a client. I'm like, and they tell me, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not giving that back to you. Sorry. I
Okay.
want it,"
Mhm.
because they saw how it works. So I think trying it and seeing it, and then also I even tell people check, right, and do your own, first of
Yeah.
all, your own due diligence,
Yeah.
see how many lights are on a device, also comparing, even trying it. I encourage people, like, you can buy this one and then you can also, or buy it on Amazon and actually see, or any
Mhm.
website that you can return and actually see if there's a difference. And you will feel a difference on, I actually just made plugs now for the car so people can recover. If they got
Oh, wow.
injured, they don't have to go home. They can actually do it in the car as well
Okay.
too. Okay,
Mhm.
but I would say do your due diligence. I
Yeah.
would say anybody, even with me, like, check it out. Like, do I really have that on my pads? And you
Mhm.
can see it, count the lights. I think it's really trying
Mhm.
things out to see if it works for you. And then that's how you can compare it, but they're not all the same. Just because there's a big brand out there and they didn't make a bad device, they
Yeah.
just made it sufficient enough.
Mhm.
But is it enough? Also, another thing is there are
Mhm.
some places that have taken the tanning beds and they
Mhm.
took out those lights and put tube lighting. The reason why it's not
Mhm.
good is because there's too many EMFs.
Oh.
Also, we want to do LED. So if it has tubes and has tiny little
Mhm.
LEDs,
Mhm.
that's good.
Mhm.
Okay. There was a place I was traveling and I saw this, it was like a new gym and they
Mhm.
touted red light therapy. But
Mhm.
when I looked inside, the red light therapy was 20 feet high in the
Wow.
ceiling. You
Mm.
can't do anything. So that's where we have to look at, because they have to be close to the body.
Mhm.
Okay. The bed that we have is 220. So we have it about 2 inches away under the glass, under the acrylic glass, because it would burn the skin. We have
Mhm.
it below at a safe level, but the
Yes.
pads themselves should be closer to the body. The
Mhm.
panels as well, it's like a close distance as well. So
Mhm.
when you're seeing things that are saying the benefits of light therapy, how close is it? And that's where we need to look at. So that's why if someone's going to use a red light laser, it should be by a qualified physician
Oh,
for
I see.
sure, because there's restrictions on that so they don't get burned.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. But for different kind of pains and, different problems, is the duration for the rate therapy different? Is it specific for each person to have their own, way of using it? Is that something that they can find out?
Yeah. So we have different levels. It depends. Like, for example, when there's someone who's elderly and
Mhm.
they have barely any tissue left and they just
Mhm.
more their bone and skin, they
Yeah.
would need a lower intensity. So we actually have a controller to
Okay.
control it. And so we talk about that with our instructions. If we're doing pain relief, we're going to be doing it as high as we can. So it's faster. We can go
Mhm.
lower level and do it for a longer time. Most people want to go higher. But when we're doing, let's say, fat loss, to be able to open up fat
Mhm.
cells, it takes about 20 minutes. So we're going to go lower
Mhm.
on the temperature,
Mhm.
longer on the time. But
Mhm.
for inflammation reduction, we are doing it at a higher level for inflammation reduction.
Mhm.
Also, if someone wants to wear the hat for hair growth, if there's more hair, then we need to go
Yeah.
higher because we're going through hair. If somebody
Mhm.
has less hair, then they're going to need less intensity. So there's a controller
Mhm.
because there's nothing blocking the
Yeah.
scalp.
I see.
Okay. So that's where we look at, again, elbow has less tissue,
Mhm.
right? So we would
Yeah.
lower temperature. Same with ankles. So it depends on where we're putting it. But the nice thing is, as soon as it says, oh, wow, it feels a little warm,
Yeah.
we just turn it down. The
Mhm.
control's right there.
I
And
see.
there's a timer on each one so we can adjust it.
Just and everything. Perfect.
Okay.
How do you see the future of red light therapy and wellness evolving in the coming years? What do you think?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm hoping that every office will have a light therapy device for their patients. I think that also there'll be more readily available devices for home.
Mhm.
We are actually creating like a blanket that's 3 feet by 5 feet. We've
Mhm.
been doing
Oh,
testing with that. So it'll be a more affordable than buying a bed. Now we can afford a bed, but I'm hoping and praying that insurance will start covering it.
mm,
That is the biggest, I think, deterrent as
yeah.
to why it's not in doctor's offices, right? And they
Mhm.
come here because there's no codes for red light therapy. So I think that the more people do it, I'm hoping that the
Yeah.
insurance companies can see that it's actually a benefit for them
Mhm.
to cover it, because now maybe some of the surgeries won't have to be done. Even with, there was a gentleman who the doctor, to get his gastric bypass, said you need to lose some weight. Well,
Mm,
he discovered another facility that had
mm,
red light, another
mm.
state, the same bed that we have. When he went back, the surgeon was so upset because he lost too much weight. Now he didn't
Oh,
qualify. And he literally just slammed his paper down. He's like, "You've lost too much weight. I got to cancel the surgery." I mean, at one point, I understand that, surgery has to be done. If we can
Yeah,
help
yeah.
people, right, with
Mhm,
that, without doing surgery, without the risk, because there's risks involved.
mhm,
And
for sure.
that's where even with knee replacement surgeries, there's a risk involved.
Mhm,
Why? Because you're under general anesthesia, right? There's a risk of death all the time we do that and risk of infection.
yeah.
So with light therapy, as we get it out there more and seeing it and people using it, I see it actually seen pretty soon in everybody's first aid kit is having a
Mhm,
true red light therapy device at their house. So when they need it or in their car, they can use it. And that's why I actually we made the
yeah.
plug for the car. So it can be in the car. You sprain your ankle, you put it on there. And I
Mhm.
decided not to make them rechargeable, the devices, because you won't have it. If it's not charged, you can't use it. It has to plug into the wall.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Especially like we talk about the, opioid crisis and a lot of pain management, a
Yeah.
lot of medication that's out there. It's always best to avoid as much side effects or anything that involves more
Yeah.
like risk and to pretty much kind of go as lower risk and healthier and kind of more natural ways to,
Yeah.
deal with your body. So, no, it definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the future with, I think there are so many more doctors looking at
Mhm.
light therapy. And one told me, at first, because I was reading one of my articles that I wrote in one of the magazines, and he was an eye surgeon. He goes, we used to go poo poo red light therapy. He goes, you can't deny the
Mhm.
science. You can't deny everything that we're seeing when we have all these published studies as to what happens with light therapy. You can't deny it. And I think that's where I think the change will be. And I'm hoping that it
Mhm.
will be covered by insurance. It would help so many people live a
Definitely.
better life.
And you've seen the results, like you said. You've seen people come in and you do pain relief and you for yourself. So I think you see, so it's looking good.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, even I had a lady that walked in. I'll share one more testimony before we go. Is she had on her back and she has scoliosis. And when she walked in, was holding on to her son, and he had to help her get into the bed and everything because she
Mhm.
couldn't move that well. And she came back 4 days later and she walked in by herself. And I said, "Did you just walk in by yourself?"
Yeah.
And she says,
Yeah.
"I did, and I can bend my knees." And
Mhm.
she literally was night and day
Mhm.
from that time. It's
Yeah.
just amazing. With back pain, my mom puts it on. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, she'd be like down for like 2 days, and she's back to normal after 15 minutes, so
Yeah.
it's
That's
amazing.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Well,
so
thank you for your time. How can people learn more about you and just find out all the information that you provided today? Appreciate it if you can
yeah,
share with us. Yeah.
sure. You can go to foskariswellness.com for the center, and there's still a link for the devices, but redlightprodevices.com is the website for the devices, so thank you.
Of course. Thank you
Thanks.
for your time. It was a pleasure
Sure.
meeting you. All
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.